What's up out there? So apparently Path of Building has a beta branch, and if you check on options, go in here to opt into weekly beta test builds, check that box, save it, and let this update once or twice, however many it takes. You will be on version 2.42 beta as of today. What this gives you is access to the beta version of the 3.25 passive tree. These guys did the Lord's work and got us up to this point. Is it completely accurate? I don't know, but it's accurate enough that I think you can start making your planning and start doing your builds and stuff like that, looking at everything. So what I did is I took a 3.24 version of the game on one PoB on one screen and then 3.25 on the other, and I actually manually plotted all the points onto the new passive tree. And I wanted to do that instead of updating it. So this is a different version of that, but I wanted to see all the changes and see how things were impacted. So once I did that, I then took a copy of my current Bone Shatter build and made a copy, renamed it, brought it in, and updated it to 3.25. I wanted to know what changes were there before I did the update, because I didn't want it to just magically change something and not realize what it was changing. So I wanted to plot it out by hand first, and then copy a build over. This is my current build with my current gear, my current skill gems, and let this bring it up. That way I don't have to manually create gear. It just uses all the items that I currently have, all the skills that I currently have, and the passive tree roughly where it's all at. So that's kind of how I got here. And I did that for all three of my builds. I am now rolling my own builds. So I've got my Exsanguinate Juggernaut, I've got my Caustic Arrow Trickster, and my Bone Shatter Juggernaut. The Exsanguinate Trickster is kind of another build that kind of morphed over into that. The Bone Shatter Juggernaut was another build that morphed over into my version of it. But the Exsanguinate Juggernaut is completely from scratch. And that's kind of where I'm starting to go with things now, is to just kind of roll my own builds. Whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, I don't care. I want to share them, what I've learned with them, and if they're any good or not, and things like that. But in this case, I've got three builds that are basically my builds at this point. And I wanted to decide which build I wanted to league start and how much trouble these builds were going to be in when we do, when we do get the expansion that comes up. So in the case of Bone Shatter Juggernaut, there's going to be a lot of changes to this build. For one, we've lost Bannerman off here. So we've got Champion of the Cause, which gives you 8% increased reservation efficiency of skills. I think we lost another reservation efficiency. I feel like there was another one on this other side of that between this and Bannerman, which we could actually go look at real quick here. Let's see. Yeah, so there's 8% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. That's a big loss right there, in my opinion, because that was another 8%. So that means some of the auras aren't going to be as, and there's the aura changes. I put a bunch of notes in here on what's changed, like Enduring Cries changing, Ancestral Cries changing. A Call to Arms is being called Auto Exertion, and it looks like it's got a massive change to it. Now, I need to preempt some of this, I guess would be the word for it. I can read what all this stuff says, and I can see that it says this changed to this, and this is doing that, and all that stuff. I want to actually feel what it does in the game. For instance, a good example is Precise Technique. You're going to get 40% more attack damage, which is great. That's a huge benefit if your accuracy is higher than maximum life. So on paper, yeah, that's going to be a great node to take. You'll notice that I don't take that. The build that I started my Bone Shatter with goes over here and takes that. I don't really like using that myself. The problem that I run into in practice. So in theory, this is fantastic. That's a great big bonus to your damage. It's awesome. But in practice, what it does for me is it limits the amount of life that I can put on my build. And every time I go to add life, I end up losing my damage bonus because my accuracy goes down. Or I'm very close to my accuracy, and then for some reason something happens and I lose my accuracy, map modifier or something like that, because I don't think, yeah, this doesn't have anything that doesn't affect your accuracy. So the problem that I run into is then I either have 3,000, 3,500, 3,800 life because I can only have 4,000 accuracy or something like that. So then I play that bouncy ball game trying to keep my accuracy above my life, and it just ran into a lot of issues. it got frustrating and I didn't like it. And that's why I ended up with the passive tree that I do. This is not as good as coming over here to precise technique, for sure. I'm losing a lot of damage for that. I made up most of the damage, maybe not all of it, but I made up a chunk of the damage. Now these numbers are skewed because the gear is going to be different and everything. I just wanted this is 3.25 tree. It's not all the same. We're missing some points on here. It's close enough. So I think I have over like 2.5 million damage on the current league. Part of that's also because Hatchet Mastery moved from over here where it was easy to get and I could just move the points. It's now way over here. So I've lost a chunk of damage off of that. So if I put this on here, I'm at 1.8. I know it's not necessarily the same, but for the sake of conversation. So what I'm saying is, it's nice to see the point that I'm trying to make with precise technique is there's the values that you can read, meaning that I can go into these patch notes and I copied this and pasted this from the patch notes. I can certainly read this and see what it says. But until I actually feel the effects in the game, this doesn't mean a whole lot to me. So this now says it reserves 15% mana per supported Warcry. So that means not only, if I'm reading that correctly, I've lost 8% mana reservation efficiency. And probably with like the skills that I'm using, I've got some auras on here. We've got Purity of Elements. War Banner doesn't have a reservation anymore, but Determination, 50% mana. 50. These two are both 50% mana, which comes out to like 40% by the time I get the reservation efficiency. If I now have to worry about Ancestral Cry and Enduring Cry taking up 30% per supported one, that's a lot. And that's kind of eating into that mana reservation efficiency, and I'm losing 8%. So how does that actually balance out into the game? That's what I want to actually see. So what I'm basically kind of driving at is I've lost some damage over here with Hatchet Master. That's now over there, so I can't get to that. I only get 7 more points to apply, so I would be here. I would not actually even get Hatchet Master, so I can't even get over to that. In addition to that, we've got all the retaliate. So another thing, we've lost, let's see, these all change. That's going to be auto exertion now. These change to however they feel. War Banner's completely changed. You have to place the thing. We've got, looks like vulnerability, molten shell, none of this stuff really changed. This entire section here, Ancestral Protector, War Chief, multiple totems, life tap, all this, Culling Strike. I enjoyed having Culling Strike on that. That's 5 or 6 nodes that 5 because I have Berserk on here. So that's all 5 sockets gone. I'm gonna have to figure out something else that's gonna go in there. They're gone. Bone Shatter is largely unchanged. The damage and stuff changed a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna be a little more powerful and all that. But then back on the skill tree, the Unbreakable nodes changed from 8%, I think it was 8% of armor applies to elemental resistances, which was great for the Bone Shatter part. Now this is 15% of armor applies to chaos taken from hits, so that's different. Can we convert Bone Shatter to chaos damage? I'm not sure. And that was elemental, so that was elemental, right? So it may not be that much of a change. And Fire, Cold, and Lightning, which, now that I'm thinking about that, how were we working on that? Because we were trying to take damage from fire, but we weren't converting Bone Shatter to fire. Huh. No. I have to think about that. Unless somebody's got a better idea. Because I know we were trying to increase like our max fire resistance. I wonder how that works now. Armor applies to... Because armor was applying to Ellie damage, but I kind of assumed our damage for Bone Shatter was being applied to our armor, but if we weren't converting it to fire, and maybe that's why I'm not... Oh, I know, I remember now. So if I go to my items and I look at my helmet, we were doing 6% of physical damage taken as fire damage. That's right. We were converting it in our helmet or our chest piece or something like that. That's where the conversion was actually coming in, and we were shunting all that off. So we're going to have to take damage as chaos if we can. So yeah, that I don't know what I'm basically driving at is I have no idea how this is going to be affected going forward. It's going to be a massive change, and I'm not sure how to apply all this to it. I kind of want to start over with Bone Shatter. So where Bone Shatter was going to be my league starter, I don't think it's going to be anymore. I think it's going to be my Caustic Arrow Trickster. So let's swap over. Oh, and I would also point out, I noticed this one too. We've got this section here where you get prismatic skin plus the Res and all this kind of stuff over here. They've added a whole other section of it into this where you've got fire resistance coming into here. You've got +2 to all max elemental resistances. Like this is a good triangle to come into. Brand new. It's got the same benefits, the same protection masteries that this one does. So that's cool. I like how that is. It would be, this would have made the Juggernaut OP if they hadn't changed this over, if they hadn't changed Unbreakable, this would have been a phenomenal change for Bone Shatter. Path into that, get a lot of extra damage taken at, lost. But the other thing is all the retaliation skills. So we've got, if I have all these sockets freed up from all the War Chief and all this stuff from my totems, what else can I do? We've got retaliation gems to put in here and try out, and all that's great, but that's going to offer up, there's a whole bunch of retaliation stuff on here, like veteran, well, the rage changes. There's, I don't remember where all of the retaliation stuff in here is, but there's a whole bunch of stuff for retaliation, for rage, all those changes. I don't even know what any of that looks like. So I think for my Bone Shatter build, that's probably going to be the second or third build probably the second build that I work on. And I'm going to just take it from scratch, build it up, put things in as I play through the campaign and feel it out and see what changes need to be made. There's so many drastic changes. Like I could sit here and PoB warrior this thing out, but without knowing how something feels, kind of getting back to the whole comment about precise technique, if I can't feel the changes, then I don't know where my build's going to be. So that's probably enough said about Bone Shatter. I don't know where it's going to end up. It's just going to be a start from scratch, blank slate for me. So let's take a look at my Exsanguinate Juggernaut. I feel kind of bad about this one. I made all kind of changes to it, updated it, and I thought this is going to be great going into 3.25. However, let's look at the patch notes for a second. Exsanguinate now has 150% effectiveness of added damage at gem level 1, scaling up to 270 at gem level 20. Previously, 270% at all gem levels. So this caught a big nerf. Not only did Exsanguinate catch a nerf, Reap caught a nerf. Now has 150% effectiveness of added damage at gem level 1, scaling up to 210 at level 20. So your level 1 through 20 experience is going to be nerfed. You're going to do less damage through the whole thing, which sucks. Not only that, it caught another nerf because we can't use Cannibalistic Rite now. If I go look at what Cannibalistic Rite was in the current version of the passive tree, this is a great node. 8% in, no, that's not it. Where's it at? I keep losing the damn thing wherever it's at. I keep thinking it's here, but oh, it's right here. 10% reduced life cost of skills. So Reap and Exsanguinate cost life, and anything you life tap is going to cost life. So 10% reduced life cost of skills is great. Recover life on kill if you spent life recently, which all of those are going to be using that. And then 30% increased damage with skills that cost life. You're losing a chunk of life or a chunk of damage. Plus, this also gives you plus 50 to max life on that part there, with a little bit more reduced life cost and increased damage. So that was a good wheel to take. If I go back in here and look at this, it's all mana stuff now. Like they've completely changed it. Where's it at? It keeps moving on me. It's in the same place, but it keeps moving. So this is reduced mana cost of attacks. So you can't even use it because Exsanguinate's a spell. So this gives you attack skills cost life instead of 10% mana. And then 15% reduced mana cost of attacks. Then you get mana mastery token. So this thing got like nerfed in a lot of different ways, which sucks because this wasn't a great skill. Let me say this. This build wasn't like some exceptional build that was like a big uber killer. It was just kind of a build that I was proud of. I made this. I was curious about it. And now it's kind of nerfed. It's about, I don't know. I was getting 260,000 DPS, DPS. It may not be calculated right, but the numbers was 260,000. It is now 238 with that. And I've got some extra points I don't know what to do with. I would go probably into jewel sockets, or maybe off into where we got the large jewel sockets over here. That'd probably be where I'd get, because you really need to get damage over time. What do we got? Damage over time on this one, and global fizz, increased global fizz, I think counts also. But my Exsanguinate Juggernaut build is mostly fine, but at the same time, it's, I don't know, there's some changes to it that I may have to redo this one. I don't know, I have to check this one out. This will probably be the third or fourth build that I try. So the actual build that I'm going to do is Caustic Arrow Trickster. This is going to be my league start. There are 0 changes that I saw to this. Toxic Rain of Spore Burst has a little bit of changes to it. Or Toxic Rain, I'm calling that with Mana Forged Arrows. So there's no longer added chaos damage at all gym levels, and it's changed. Some of the effectiveness has changed a little bit. Decay's a little bit stronger now, I think. Looks like supported previously 843, and it's now up to 1034 for its values. Oh, ensnaring arrows changed slightly. I have to see how that feels. Grace, they've toned down Grace. But the Toxic Rain was basically the only... Caustic Arrow didn't change at all. I did Control F. I didn't see Caustic Arrow, I don't think. But this had some mana costs have changed a little bit. Yeah, so mana cost is all that's changed. Were we using Withering or Spore Burst? Oh, Withering. Withering was the one that I actually... Oh, notes is what I'm looking for. Now, let's see. Withering. Yeah, so no changes. Okay, so... Yeah, Toxic Rain of Withering. That's the one I'm using. So basically no change. The mana cost has gone up a little bit. Big deal. It's not that big a deal. Toxic Rain, mana cost. Oh, actually, mana cost went down. I'm sorry. Mana cost went down, scaling up to 10. Yeah, so it's a little bit cheaper. Mana cost of 6 instead of 7, 10 instead of 11. Yeah, so it's gone down. It's the Toxic Rain of Spore Burst has lost a little bit of chaos damage at all levels. All right, cool. I wasn't using it anyway. So this is going to be the one that goes. I actually sat down and plotted this one out as well. And I didn't look at my ascendancies to make sure those didn't change, but these were more defensive than anything. These weren't really offensive. Got a little more damage per mastery allocated. That was kind of all I was working on there. But for the most part, this build is not changed. It's only gotten slightly better. Now this build's going to get me into red mapping at some point. Like, it may take a little bit more work to use. I'm level 91, so I've got a few more points I can put in. But this whole side of the passive tree doesn't look like it changed, or either there's no changes or there's no significant changes. So no problems over here. I'll be able to build this one out and use this. And this is kind of what I was looking for, is the build that changed the least, because this is going to be my league starter, so I don't have to think about it. I can go engage with the league mechanics and tinker around with all that stuff, get all that going, and not have to worry about all of this at once and try to worry about my build and, oh, now I got to regret orb something off, or I don't know, change it with gold or whatever. I don't have to respec a whole bunch of stuff. I can just go play the game. This build's fairly untouched. It's a fast mapper, or it's a fast progressor, because the movement speed is fairly good. This is only plus 56%. What am I in the game now? Yeah, 56%. My Jug feels slower, though. This is 124. That feels slower than my Exsanguinate Trickster does. Or, not Exsanguinate Trickster, Caustic Arrow Trickster. Caustic Arrow Trickster moves a lot faster, but we've also got Phase Run, I think Withering Step. There's a few things that makes it move faster. I thought Withering Step make it move faster? I don't remember. Phase Run does. Phase Run adds 39% increased movement speed. Withering Step... I guess Withering Step doesn't. You just get elusive out of it. But with Phase Run on, I notice I'm moving a lot faster. This build moves fairly fast for me, so it's good. So that's going to be the one that I'm in league start. So from my standpoint, I have 3 viable builds to start with. Exsanguinate Juggernaut is still viable. It's not totally killed, but there's a few nodes that have gotten lost. Again, with all the retaliation and stuff like that, I don't know how much changes that are. I really didn't pay attention to all my skill gems on that one either. This one, I don't think any of my skill gems changed, so my caustic arrow build is largely just all the same. I don't have to mess with any totems missing or any of that. Bone Shatter really got gutted, and I don't mean gutted in a bad way. I just mean gutted as in it's going to have to be retooled. You know, the totems are going to have to be replaced. Going to have to try to figure out which retaliation skills work well, which ones I like, which ones I don't like. So there's going to be a lot of experimentation. And for the first week or two, at least 2 weeks probably of the league, I want just straight up go play, get mapping done, clear the campaign, do the mapping, get started into all of the end game stuff, and then go play and tinker and all that. That's where I want to be. So my caustic arrow trickster is going to be the build that I'm going to start with, is what all this kind of goes down to. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.